Interesting. So Tim Pool dropped another video titled Tim Pool Responds to Kanye West Storming Off Timcast IRL, discusses pre-show plan, possible staging. And so obviously Kanye West stormed out of the Tim Pool interview. He came in with Nick Fuentes and Milo Yiannopoulos, and he abruptly just decided to just completely rage quit the entire interview, saying, I'm not going to get into another Lex Friedman setup interview. He seemed very visibly really irritated, like serious, passionately irritated by him. And it started talking about the anti-Semitic comments. And, Tim Pool here has a really interesting idea, because this whole thing in the terms of like what we saw in terms of the optics was, okay, so Kanye comes on and they're supposed to talk about something else or whatever, and then he just dips. But Tim Pool here in this video, and I want to preface this by saying, I know that a lot of people are not going to believe Tim Pool for what he's saying, and I'm not 100% sure whether or not he's telling the truth. I mean, it's not really possible exactly to, know for sure, but it's definitely interesting, and it doesn't look like he's just making this up, like pulling it out of his ass entirely. Who knows if part of this is made up or whatever, but it kind of ends up being up on you to decide, essentially. You're kind of the one that has to end up being the one to decide, like, whether this is legit or if it's BS. But you are going to see here that he's going to explain a bunch of different things, basically, that this might have been a setup, which is interesting because the whole Milo just revealed that he actually set up that interview with Trump to basically destroy Trump, because he knew that it would leak to the press, and then the press and the Republicans would just go crazy at him. And that's what happened. Trump got huge backlash from Republican elites and donor class and stuff like that, which is really harming his campaign, because it's making an already fringe campaign look even more fringe. And so he's basically going to say, like, this is all on purpose. He's going to give some interesting behind the scenes information about what Kanye was like before, and saying it's fake. And so there's a lot, even like a lot of the stuff he's saying here is that, maybe like a lot of the stuff we attribute to his like erraticity, I don't know if that's a word, his erratic behavior that he exhibits might be more cold and calculated than genuine insanity. But go ahead and check this out.
Maybe you've heard the news. Last night, we hosted Ye, formerly known as Kanye West, Milo Yiannopoulos, and Nick Fuentes on Timcast IRL, and Ye got up and stormed out about 27 minutes into the show. And there's a lot that people don't understand about it, despite the fact that we did talk a lot about it after he stormed off, and we carried on with the hour-and-a-half show. We were planning on doing a members-only uncensored segment, and I think this was staged. Maybe by Ye, but I don't know. I think Milo is a very, very smart guy. I said before, I think he's a genius, because I'm looking at what's going on. And I either have to assume that Milo is orchestrating some powerful vengeance, or he slipped on a banana peel, did a perfect backflip, and then said, ta-da. But I'll explain in great detail. The big news right now that's been going on for the past week is this. So, why did Ye start talking about this? Well, some people have said Tim opens with an article from The Hill where Pence called him an anti-Semite and thought he wasn't going to get into it. They knew what article we had pulled up to launch the show. Ye addressed the issue before we even got started. Now, I wish we recorded the pre-show. Sometimes I say maybe we should, but the problem is we're setting up cameras, we're adjusting lighting. Some people are doing makeup, rarely, but, some people want to put on makeup. We're getting drinks. We're discussing what they think the big topic is going to be. And I say, hey, guys, let's save the conversation for the show. Let me pull up articles. Let's just get everything set up. In the pre-show, Pence asked, I said, here's the article that I think we can lead with, because Trump is being dragged over this dinner with Fuentes specifically, but also Ye's involvement. They knew. And they were like, yeah. And here's the funny thing. During the pre-show, when Ye would be talking, I'll be going like this, and I would put up a finger. This is what I normally do when people are talking. If I need to change the subject, advance to a new segment, or just there's an issue. Like, people are like, Tim interrupts. Look, guys, if you watch when we do the split view thing, you'll often see me put my hand up. Like, I'm just saying, like, hey, I'm gonna try and get in. I'm trying to be a conductor of this show. You know what I mean? I want everybody to talk, and preferably they all just talk, and I don't got to say anything. But I do have to say, for time, for segment, for topic, in response to audience questions, I'm going to try and move things along, or I'm going to say something. In the pre-show, Ye's talking, and then I'm listening, and I'm like, okay. And then I put my hand up. As soon as I put my hand up, he would immediately stop and go, you want to say something? And then I would say, yeah, we'll finish your idea. I just want, like my intention is not to put my hand up to stop you. And so I actually outlined this before the show. I said, just so you know, guys, I want you to be able to talk about what's going on. If I put my hand up, just know that I'm getting ready to say something. I want to interject. I don't, it's to avoid everybody screaming over each other. I may need to bring something up. I may need to push back on something. Quite literally, I told them, you cannot just come on here and say these things without expecting pushback. And if you do, I will put up my hand and I'm going to push back. And they said, yeah, of course. I don't know if Milo planned this. Milo insists he did not. According to staff members that were on the property, they said that he genuinely looked bummed that things were falling apart this way. And, I don't know. I genuinely don't know. I don't know. I wonder if Ye planned this because additionally, we have people here who are fans of Ye. I would say not fans of the recent history of Ye, but like his music going back. And what's been expressed to me is that he does this thing where he has this bomb fame period and then comes right back. Maybe it's not this time. Maybe this is part of his personality. He's only lucky to have come back. Maybe this was planned. Then I'll tell you. And I want to read some of these articles and show you how hilarious the media is. When we started the show, but before the show, I was like, guys, I know you have these views. You've debated them. I'm not a fan, obviously. If you want to bring them up, I am going. I said, look, who am I kidding? You're going to bring them up. I'm going to push back. I'm not going to let you just say these things. And they're like, yes, of course. And Milo was like, but this is about what the plan is. It's about a potential candidacy. And I said, okay, we know what their views are. We don't know what happened at this dinner. We don't know how they ended up there with Trump. And it is sinking Trump world, according to a lot of people. I thought, this is Milo's revenge, isn't it? And the reason why he wants to come on this show is because he's going to put these people in front of the world and say, this is who Trump was having dinner with. And then maybe it didn't go according to plan, or maybe it did. So when the show starts, and immediately, he's just like, I want to talk about anti-Semitism and what it means and all that. And I said, so you want to just go right into it? Fine. I'm like, they're nuking the show. Because, Ye acting like, he said during the show, he threatened to walk if it was another Lex Fridman kind of thing. I'm like, bro, you are doing this. So I think Ye may have planned it. Not surprised. He apparently was laughing and smiling on the way out, and I wonder if he planned the whole thing. Grabbed a bunch of Luke's cookies and took off, and he said something like, I came what I did to do. I don't know exactly what he said. I was told by our security guys that as he's leaving, he said, I came what I did to do, did the show, conquered it, and ruined Tim Pool or something like that. Maybe he said ruined the show. I don't know. Whatever his plan was. Before the show, I was telling him, I said outright, you talk about Jewish people. How does that explain me? And he goes, God's on our side. I'm like, what? That's meaningless. There's a bunch of people in media who are not Jewish.
So in those clips you just saw there, basically he explains that this might have actually been a setup, and he basically knew how to get press. Now, the biggest thing that people would say, because Kanye does a lot of crazy shit, right? He does a lot of crazy shit. And so if you were to say that it's calculated, it's kind of like, really? He would be dumb and do that kind of dumb stuff? It doesn't make any sense. And that's true. It is true. But it does appear like he's explaining what happened in the pre-show and how he was just chill, and he knew that they were already going to talk about that article, so it was already preset. He had informed him about the finger method or whatever too, and all of that kind of stuff. But nonetheless, he ended up just kind of going crazy just out of nowhere. And so what exactly was the cause of this? And so I think that there's at least got to be some bit of truth to this. There's no way this is a complete fabrication or completely a smear or non-representative of who, Kanye is here. And it appears that, off camera, I guess maybe he's more chill. And then once this camera starts rolling, something just hits, and it's just he just turns on this character. And I don't know if that's part of his bipolar and his craziness. Maybe part of his bipolar is being more chill off camera. And then once the cameras are on, once it's lights, camera, action, boom, Kanye is just fucking just insane, right? Just goes off a fuse, just lights and just goes crazy. Totally possible. And so it's interesting too, because he's trying to say that all of this stuff is just on purpose, basically. Now, again, I would say the biggest thorn in this side of the argument is it genuinely does seem like has mental serious issues. I mean, he's diagnosed bipolar, right? And then also a lot of the shit that he does just doesn't make sense with Trump. A lot of the stuff that people just say he's dumb, he's doing it on purpose. He's manipulating people, specifically usually to manipulate people to vote for him or manipulate the media to cover him negatively because that'll help him because people will believe in the press less. And so then they disarm from attacking him. This is weird because it's like, okay, none of this stuff is benefiting him. He just lost like 1.4 billion. So it's much harder to make the argument, to be honest with you. And so it's hard to tell, how much of this to take seriously, but how much of this kind of craziness, because he says like the security guys who basically escorted him out, like back to his car or whatever it was, like to his escort that he had to leave. They were saying that, Kanye and their guys like, yeah, we got what we wanted. And he really seemed to have, I don't know if there's like a PTSD moment for Tim now, but you saw him, talk about the Nick Fuentes quote where he says, whatever, is it not something or whatever, something like that, right? And so maybe that was like a cue that they had to go. They're obviously, dude, Milo and Nick Fuentes are massive, just trolls. Provocateurs is what they're called. And Kanye is also a troll and a provocateur. So, are they behind this? Was Kanye behind the whole Trump meeting setup to try to disarm his own opponent? Definitely possible, not proven, but definitely possible. And so was he this? Because this worked really well. It went huge. He got control of the press. It was front page on TMZ. Everybody was talking about it. It was huge. Got him a bunch of attention. Got a bunch more attention to these alt-right losers that he's trying to push as well. So, who is the true Kanye and what is going on? Because Tim Pool is saying here that he was completely different on the pre-show. And how much of the things that we consider just to be his erratic behavior are just Kanye just, being cold and calculated, or things that he's doing on purpose. Again, very debatable things, no clear answer to any of these. But again, we have to, I guess, issue kind of like a warning or so of like, it's Tim Pool, he's a right-wing grifter himself, and so it's hard to trust anything that he says. And so you do have to kind of be careful because of that. But there's just, to me, it's like I can sniff when something is just complete bullshit. This definitely does not just seem like complete bullshit, A. And B, it's like you can just tell by the things that he's saying. It's not completely fake. Like there's no way everything he said there's just a complete like fabrication. There's just no way. With all the details he provided, how like it was thought out and stuff like that. So the question is just how true is this? That's ultimately what the question that this comes down to. But let me know your thoughts on this down below. How legit is this? Is Kanye crazy, or is he doing stuff on purpose? Is he turning on a character for the camera? What on earth is going on?